NFT scams and how to avoid them. That's what we're talking about today. Dragon, let's make it simple.
Let's do it.
NFTs are changing the world, and change can feel complicated and scary. But listen, you don't need a computer science degree. You don't need to learn how to code. You just need practical skills to win.
If you are here, you are in the 1% of humans that are preparing for this major cultural shift. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. We're going to make it practical. Welcome to NFTs Made Simple.
Just a reminder, we're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice, and you should do your own research.
Hey, let's get into it.
All right, Dragon, thrilled to be back here in the studio with you today and to talk shop. You know, our job here is to really make NFTs simple, make them approachable, bring them to the masses. I'm a huge believer in the long-term value. I think that it's a dangerous space, which is a turnoff for a lot of people. There's a lot of scams out there. So let's go through a list. Let's break down some of the most common scams that are happening and how we can avoid them. Why don't you take it from the top, brother?
Yeah, I love this topic, and I think that it also is really represents what it is that we wanted to, give our followers, our listeners from this podcast, because, it's so easy to buy into, get scammed for one thing. And as you and I know, I got scammed, but it was a great learning lesson. But it's easy to get scammed, but it's also easy to buy into the rumors that the herd, lets loose on, and that's just because you don't know, So one of the things that we love to do with NFTs Made Simple is Mark and I don't really lean on one side of an opinion. We're observers. We're learning because we're very bullish on the long game, but we love to deliver some things to our listeners just so they can be aware of what is actually going on. So yeah, there's some common scams that are taking place out there, which is to be expected. This is going to happen in any big movement, any big business. So maybe we'll just throw one down and tag the other. So one interesting thing is the one that a lot of people know about, and that's the phishing scam. So phishing is, I don't know if you've ever connected the term phishing. Most of you probably have, but phishing refers to the idea, yeah, exactly. This is not about going out and catching a striped bass. Phishing is about the idea of somebody phishing in your text messages and in your emails, where you'll get an email, and I know you've got this. I remember in the old days, it was always about like getting the email from this guy in Nigeria that had some sort of like $20 million, and all you got to do is contact him. So that was what phishing was then. But now, because of the blockchain and NFTs and crypto, it's being integrated in that right now, and that's where people are getting screwed. So you'd get an email from a very, very reputable, blue chip company, that could be Amazon or anything like that. I get a lot of them from Amazon. And you look at the email and it just looks like a regular communication from Amazon. And you'd click on it, and then it would lead you, through a channel that looked all reputable. These people put a lot of work in making it look real. And then what happens is that you'll be prompted at some point to input, it'll direct you towards some sort of NFT crypto token or something like that, where you'll be convinced and prompted to put your password, your username in, and then that's how they would gain access to your wallet. So that's how phishing is now coming into the crypto and NFT space. So simple thing to do, and this is what I do. First of all, know what's legal and what's not. Amazon's never going to ask you to go do that, right? So you got to be, first of all, a little bit conscious to that it looks fishy, right? And then the other thing is it's very easy to just go to the email that says, it says from Amazon, but if you click on it and look at the email, it's like, buy pizza at Joe's or something like that. It's like obviously not from Amazon. So that's phishing. What do you got, Mark?
So this is definitely an easy one to fall for. And it's kind of funny when you start looking at scams, you're like, oh, I'm too smart for that. I can never get hit with that. But you got to be careful. You got to be vigilant. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in theft in this industry. Phishing is pretty broad, right? there's a lot of different types of phishing scams. The one that you're referring to is an email scam or a fake customer service scam. And this can hit you not necessarily only in your emails. This could be someone DMing you on social media, pretending to be somebody that they're not, asking for your phone number, or asking for you to respond to an email and give you. So this happened to my wife, actually. She was trying to sell a product on the Facebook marketplace, and someone said, I'm interested. I'd like to buy it. What's your email? She gave him her email. She said, he said, okay, in about 10 minutes, you're going to get a number. Just send me your number and I'll send you the money. So she got it. She sent him the number, and all of a sudden she just completed a 2-factor authentication for some rando.
Yeah.
There's something in her mind said, this feels weird. And she asked me, I said, we need to change your password immediately and contact Google. But it can happen really easily. So
that's how I mean, if you remember, that's how I got screwed on World of Women. You know, it just looked like, you know, cause I had the FOMO that we missed out on that drop. And I saw this perfectly like legit ad, and the comments looked good and everything. And I, you know, spent some ETH on something that didn't even exist. You know, I'm ashamed.
Yeah. Well, and so that's the other thing. And well, before we go down that rabbit hole, I think just being very aware, like you said, double checking the email, double checking, you know, verification of the social media person that's contacting you is very important. This also is very common inside comments or YouTube channels. So maybe you leave a comment on a YouTube channel for, I don't know, Gary Vaynerchuk, and all of a sudden Gary Vaynerchuk responds to your comment and says, thank you so much. Contact me at my email address. Like it's not Gary V, guys, girls. It's not him.
But it could be, man. It could be.
It is so, I can't tell you how prevalent this is. You leave a comment on a Twitter post, in a Discord. It's like, there's so many fake accounts out there pretending to be someone that they're not. Yeah. So you got to be careful. And I'm going to talk about that, in a little bit more detail, but due diligence goes a long way. And, you know, that idea of FOMO, I think, is really important. And this kind of leads to another, I think, like key takeaway or red flag. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. How many times, I'm kind of curious, Dragon, do you have people that invest in crypto and some of these different like crypto stocks and returns and funds? Anytime, and I think a lot of my friends, they mean well, but they'll say something along the lines of, hey, Mark, I'm in this crypto fund. It's awesome. I'm getting a 10% return month over month. It's amazing. You should join. And I know people that have they've lost it. You know, it works for a couple months. They get you gassed up, and then it drops out.
Just happened yesterday.
Happened to you?
Just yesterday.
Do you have people that talk to you about that?
Yeah. And, you know, he listens to our podcast, so he's probably going to text me and say, no, dude, this is legit. But I just yesterday, you know, got a text from a very good friend of mine that, you know, jumped in at something on the floor and, you know, in like 30 minutes made $17,000 or something like that. And, you know, I mean, like, I know he's not lying. He's a friend of mine, you know, but it's the same thing. And I'm not saying that's a rug pull or anything like that, but I don't know anything about that NFT. I don't, you know, it's like, if I'm not going to take the time and actually learn, I'm not just going to react to somebody giving me a hot tip, because that's usually where I make a mistake.
You definitely need to be careful. Let's talk about rug pulls for a minute, and basically a rug pull. And I think the memo is out on rug pulls. The DOJ and financial, you know, SEC and whatnot, they're getting into nailing down people for rug pulls. But basically what a rug pull is a hot new NFT project drops. They get everybody gassed up. Everybody spends and pays into it with their ETH. And then the day of the mint comes, the day that it goes live, it's silence. Nothing actually happens. Or maybe something happens and the founders end up selling out the entire project. So basically you're investing in a project, and then all of the funds, all of the ETH, all of the promises are distributed to random wallets, and you're left holding the bag. Yeah,
it's very much like one of my favorite movies, The Wolf of Wall Street, In those days, pre-NFT, crypto, blockchain, it was called the pump and dump. It was like pump something up and then dump it, leave everybody screwed. So this is not like an NFT thing. It's just pump and dump is now called rug pull. What's interesting about it, there's two things about rug pull that I find really fascinating is that it's not only the consumer that's getting screwed, because if you look at some of these rug pull scenarios, they've somehow acquired the support of influencers. This is how they're doing it, is they're getting influencers to go buy into this idea that don't know that this is going to be a rug pull, and maybe even pay them money because they know they're going to make a lot of money. And they go out there and pump it up. There's the pump. And then like Mark says, once you get to that place where there's crickets, not only does the consumer lose their money, but now these influencers are being implicated in illegal, action. And what's important to understand about that, is that it's illegal, in the market of any sort, in this market as well, it's illegal to solicit funds from investors and then abandon them. So what happens next is there's class action lawsuits against these people, but because of the nature and the expertise of people that have like hacking skills and all that, these people very often can disappear into thin air. So, you can't sue somebody that doesn't exist. So it's very interesting to recognize that. But once again, I think it's always good to either listen to NFTs Made Simple. I think it's a great idea a lot of our listeners will text us and ask us, what do you think about this? And, we're very, very, if we don't know, we're going to look it up. So, I think it's good to have an open channel or a lifeline to check things with, because the pump is all about taking advantage of getting you to react right away. That's probably not a good idea.
There's definitely a sense of FOMO in the NFT community, though, because there's this promise, there's this belief, there's this bright unicorn at the end of the rainbow where if you just buy in now, you can blow up big. And I think that's possible, but becoming less and less likely. The other, and this is kind of a side note, but it really bothers me. Something really bothers me in our society where criminals that ruin lives and steal millions of dollars from people are put on these pedestals. Like the Wolf of Wall Street movie is great, but Jordan Belfort is not someone to look up to. No. He's a freaking con man. Yeah. And now he's like, he's served his time, he's out, and now he's like he's a celebrity. And I think that's just, I think it's a problem with our society as a whole. And that's, you even see this in the NFT rug pull community. There are people that are doing these rug pulls, they're doing the pump and dumps, and then they'll straight up brag about it. I've seen this happen where they'll brag about the rug pull because they feel so smart. They'll, and I just think that is pervasive. It's just crazy. I don't want to go off on a huge tangent, but it's crazy to me that there's people in prison for a little bit of marijuana, and then there's people that are ruining lives for millions of dollars and they're celebrities. Like, what the hell is going on? It makes me very upset.
Well, I think that ties into, look at this new generation that's pretty much living their lives through the fantasy of a movie. And, there's so many different versions of this. You could even look at like what happened with Napster, when Napster came in and screwed the music industry, but they were considered, revolutionary and changed the world forever and stuff like that. So, the whole concept of being a disruptor is what people put up on a pedestal. So if you're unconscious and you just have like bought into the idea that anything that goes against the system is a good idea, you're the person that's going to put Jordan up on a pedestal. But at the same time, that's because you're unconscious to the damage that they did, like you brought his name up. So talk to somebody that used to work with him back in those days and let them tell you what actually happened. But you don't care because you see the movie. I love the movie. As far as I'm concerned, Leonardo DiCaprio is Jordan Belfort. That in my mind, and he was pretty cool. I thought it was cool that he got so wasted and crashed his car. Like I didn't think about all the damage he did. So yeah, we live in a very, very easily manipulative world where people are just like following whatever they're told is cool.
Which is again is something that I really feel like practicing patience in the NFT world is important.
Oh, yeah.
Doing due diligence. Who is the creator of this particular project? Like, if you want to avoid getting rug pulled, probably the best way is to make sure that you're working with credible creators. And, I think that's going to be part of the benefit and the advantage that, Dragon and I are going to bring to the show is by developing know, like, and trust over a long period of time. I really feel like we live in a world where like your reputation is everything, and more so now than it's been ever perhaps in the past, because once you've done something, it's cemented forever on the internet or soon to be on the blockchain.
Hey, what's up? Mark here. Just want to take you on a quick break with a resource I think is really going to help you. Some of the concepts that we're covering in the show sound really complicated and really technical. But listen, you don't need to code. You don't need to get a master's degree in computer science. All you need to do is have the right resources. We're going to make it simple. We're going to make it easy. I've got a link below. Go to www.nftsmadesimple.com. That's nftsmadesimple.com. You're going to get a free cheat sheet there. It's 100% free. What are you waiting for? Go get the cheat sheet. We're going to break down some of the key definitions in ways that are really practical and really simple. Go to nftsmadesimple.com right now to get your free cheat sheet. That's nftsmadesimple.com. All right, let's get back into the show.
So let's keep going. Let's keep going down some of these common scams. Back to a pretty common phishing scam is clicking links from unsolicited sources. Ladies, gentlemen, cannot do this. There are times I am very, very careful about this, and almost to a fault. I think sometimes I'll receive DMs from people on LinkedIn. I just happened the other day. Someone sent me a link on a DM on LinkedIn with a link, and it looked like it was from Loom, like a video, nice to meet you type of link, and it looked legitimate. But I was like, thank you so much. This looks really cool. I'm sorry, what is this link? I don't like to click unsolicited links. And I think that this woman was kind of like, what? What are you talking about? And I was like, I live in the Web3 world, baby. I don't click links. Because the problem is, if you click on a link, it can download malicious software into your computer. It can download malicious software into your phone. And that malicious software can cause all sorts of havoc in your life. So long story short, if someone sends you a link that you don't know, don't click.
It's a lot of fun. And I'm not recommending people do this, but this is what my wife, I refer to as chicken, and I do all the time. My daughter likes to watch. So, when you get you get a phone call from somebody, and, I'm not typecasting, but traditionally it's a guy with an Indian accent, and he's talking to you as if he knows you, and he's your computer, tech guy. He's like, hey, Mark, it's me, I don't know what his name is or whatever. And he's like, hey, I'm just calling to update your computer. Remember we worked together. And if you're smart, you'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? But we like to have fun. So we'll be like, hey, what's up, Raul? And we'll talk to him and pretend that we're the sucker and we'll keep him on the phone for like 30 minutes and start pretending to be like a complete nincompoop with our computer. Like, he'll be like, open up your laptop. And we'll be like, which one, my Mac or my HP or which one? And then he's like, go on the internet. And we're like, how do you do that? And so we just drain him of everything he's got. And then at the very end, the phishing component is he wants you to go to this website and click on a link, right? And then that's where he's going to just completely sucker you. So what we do is we wait to the very, very end, and I said, I don't understand what link. And he goes, what does it say on your computer? They always say that. And I say, this guy that you're on the phone with is full of shit. So we rug pull him at the end, and that's a lot of fun. But I, definitely don't recommend anyone does that.
I think that's what we call the old switcheroo.
That's
the old
right.
Switcheroo, right? So that's great. Again, don't click links from unsolicited sources. The other thing that I think is worth notating is you'd mentioned fake websites. One of the things that you need to do in the NFT world is you're going to need to add your wallet to certain websites, right? So if you're going to get on OpenSea to actually buy an NFT, your wallet needs to be connected. It needs to be linked. If you are linking your wallet with a malicious website, they're going to have access, and that's going to be a big problem for you. So there's even fake OpenSeas out there. There's some really well done fake websites. So it's again, I think really important that you understand and make sure that you really trust the website before you connect your wallet. We in my first foray getting into the VFriends platform, I needed to connect my wallet to a few sites. And I was really freaking nervous. I proceeded very, very carefully. Now, because I trust the creator, because I trust that Gary isn't going to try to steal my info, I made sure to go everything through the VFriends website and only use the links that were there. But you could see how you could very easily be manipulated to upload and add your wallet to a malicious site. So that's something that we need to be very, very careful about as well.
Yeah. And I remember that night. And one thing, that concept of calling a lifeline, you and I were up on the going back and forth. So we had, two sets of eyes on that. And it was still stressful because we were worried that one another didn't know what they were doing. But, if you have a good friendship with somebody and you have different talents, like Mark's not the kind of guy that get screwed. But that leaves another, that leads perfectly into another scam. And they refer to this as the airdrop scam, because it's one thing to say, yeah, I know that there could be fake websites and I want to be careful to unveil my wallet. But the way that they would fish you into that is there's something called the airdrop scam, where all of a sudden you'll look in your wallet and you'll get a text saying that you've received new tokens. And it's very hard to just ignore that, because you're just wondering, maybe the gods of the blockchain have just given me money. And it says, all of a sudden it's very much like the Nigerian thing, but it's not. So all you got to do to claim it and activate it in your wallet is go somewhere. And then all of a sudden, once again, you're unconsciously giving them your username or your password. And by the way, this is how there's so many reports of people losing extremely valuable NFTs or crypto from a wallet because they allowed somebody to have access to go into it. So once again, just slow your roll and just really take your time in doing that. Not a good idea.
In United States law and common law, you're innocent before proven guilty. And I think it's really freaking important that we have that. For me, in the NFT world, when I'm getting into new project, it's guilty until proven innocent. To your point, I'm very, very skeptical.
Well said.
I'm very skeptical. So we talked about a bunch of different types of very, very common scams and how to avoid them. I just want to recap, I think, a handful of the key points, the key red flags, key takeaways. So if you walk away from this only remembering the next minute and a half of the session, this is really important. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Never trust anyone who's asking for your private key or your seed phrase. No one will ever ask you of that. Always be careful of the creator. Always analyze the creator of a project before buying in. Never click unsolicited links. Always be careful about the people that are responding to your comments or DMing you. There are a lot of people out there that will make accounts that look very similar to a real account. So be careful there. Those are my key takeaways. Do you have any key takeaways, Dragon, in addition?
Yeah, I just, that's enough for the takeaways. But, just one insight I would have is just recognize that there's another business emerging in this Web3, and that is the evildoers, right? And they're getting smarter and smarter. I mean, that's their actual full-time job, just like you used to know as people that would hack, right? So the new version of hackers are people that are just trying to access people's wallets. It's a smart idea, right? And that's why they would get glorified, because they're smart in how they figure it out. I mean, just to give you an idea of the evolution of it, we're moving into virtual reality, metaverse, and also artificial intelligence. So now one of the greatest utilities attached to NFTs is community, and communities are all hanging around in places like Discord. And when you're in the Discord, it gives the illusion that you're safe, but Discord has artificial intelligence, meaning when you sign up for a Discord, you get an automatic artificial welcome. They also have AI in the Discord groups that can get rid of people that are disrupting and things like that. So just imagine, and this is already happening, where these evildoers are taking advantage, tapping in and gaining access to sending messages that look like they're coming from the Discord community AI, leading people to purchase tokens and stuff. So take this episode, and I hope it helped you. And I hope it doesn't just make you worried. I mean, we're still very, very bullish. It's just changing and we're evolving. This is a natural process that takes place when something this big is happening. But we hope that it just makes you a little bit more conscious and aware. And my last takeaway is just be aware that we haven't seen the smartest, scams and things like that, so I guess what I would say, Mark, is if you're ever like super, super excited about an opportunity, take a breath before you do something about it.
Words of wisdom. Thanks for listening. Go out, get involved, and we'll catch you here next time on NFTs Made Simple.